right, welcome everyone. We'll call the meeting to order and we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation.
All right, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I am right on a bad spot here. Sorry. All right, all those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? All right, that passes. We need a motion to approve the Board of Education meeting minutes for October 4th, 2018. A motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, that passes. Next, we have patron comments, and we do have a patron comment tonight. So I'm going to read this. During patron comments, citizens may address the Board of Education concerning issues related to the school district. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. Please note that at the board's discretion, the board or superintendent may respond immediately to an issue raised during patron comments for clarification. However, our general practice is to respond to the comment at a later time via phone call or written message if a response is needed. We have a table with microphones ready, so both the board and the audience may hear the patron comments clearly. Board meeting proceedings are also recorded and posted on Rockwood's YouTube channel. So this evening we do have a patron comment, so for your convenience, the 3-minute clock is already going to start when you come up. So we welcome Jessica Reisenhoover to the table. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time this evening. I'm here tonight because select individuals are being allowed free use of our taxpayer-funded resources, email facilities, and employees to promote, recruit, and collect payment for private country club events that are not inclusive or equitable to Rockwood students. I've contacted the organizers of these events, principals involved, and Dr. Knost, and was advised these individuals cannot be held to our public school standards and are not subject to accountability. I've spoken to Dr. Counts, who said administration has previously received complaints of elitist and exclusionary events, but the preference is to leave it to school principals as to who is allowed access to resources and what capacity. This is unacceptable as it opens our system to abuse with no recourse of action. It also puts Rockwood ISD at risk of litigation. Principals are given unbridled discretion as to who is granted free use of school email facilities and employees. They are creating a limited public forum as not all groups or individuals are granted the same access. I am requesting the school board establish a specific, narrowly drawn policy to protect our community. Please see Child Evangelism Fellowship versus Indiana Metropolitan School District of Pike County as an example of how federal courts have found unbridled discretion to be unconstitutional. Also, Rockwood ISD is further exposed via First Amendment complaint the moment any individual or group is denied the same free access that has been afforded to others. And now my son was discriminated against based on his gender by an individual allowed free access to our school email and facilities. State courts have determined our public schools are places of public accommodation. The Kansas City School District lost a lawsuit over this. And private groups and individuals must conform to the standards set by the Missouri Human Rights Act when using our resources. Now, the most frustrating part about this situation is that I had addressed this with the individual first and then began escalating from there. Other parents advised me that it would be worthless to escalate these issues. The administration has a select group of preferred parents and nothing would be done to fix this, is what I was told. Sadly, they were correct. I had to escalate every step of the way. And so this nonsense has been allowed to go on for far too long in our district. It's created a toxic environment in our school district, and I'm not going to stop until we have a solution. As a taxpayer, I expect our elected officials to promptly establish policies necessary to safeguard our state, federal, and locally funded resources and protect the interests of all students. So I'm asking you guys to fix this, make a policy so this can no longer be done this way.
Mrs. Reisenhoover, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You said your son was discriminated on account of gender. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so what they did was there were 20 boys that they excluded from the event. I raised the red flag on this on September 16th. The students that were selected to attend the event by this individual sent out her email to the selected individuals on September 21st. So I gave them an opportunity to fix this before the original email even went out to the people that they had selected to attend. And so it was 20 boys that got excluded from the event. So, and they were excluded based on their gender. Only boys were excluded. All girls were originally accommodated.
Are these 20 that had applied and didn't get in, or what?
Yeah, so they, how it works is that every year a parent chooses to take on hosting a cotillion. That parent is allowed access to our school email system. She is also allowed access through our facilities. They get a sign-up table at open house night. So you have to first be able to attend open house if you want to attend the event, which we all know is not possible for all families. Me personally, I have children at 2 different schools. Those open houses are the exact same night at the exact same time. So you first have to be able to even attend. And then the second part was that Dr. Jansen has it set justifiably because we have so many students. A through L goes at this time, M through Z goes at a second time. So they didn't even hold spots for the A through L and the M through Z group. They just gave it all to the A through L group. So it wasn't even a mixed group that way. And then they had 20 boys more than girls, so they excluded the 20 boys completely and made no attempt at accommodation. The first response I received from organizers was send your kid to an event at a different school or see if 7th grade will make accommodations for him next year.
Is she the only school that has a cotillion?
So no, other schools, and this is quite common throughout the state, to have cotillions, completely normal. The difference is that other school districts, and many schools, even within Rockwood, they do it through Peach Jar. And so they send it out through a Peach Jar, which is nice because then that's also a revenue source for the school. And then you just send in your registration from there. So it is a private event done through Peach Jar. They are not allowed free access through our school and through the facilities and through the email system.
Thank you very much.
And this hasn't been the only time that this has been a problem because Kerrs Mill Elementary also does, at the end of the school year, a 5th grade parent group will host an event at a country club or a private party. And same thing, they're given free access to our facilities. And there's no accountability with it. They never make accommodations for the kids who live out of district. I have brought this up, and the excuse that I'm given is, well, it's a private party. We don't have to make accommodations for anybody. But you're using our public school resources, so they just feel free to just do what they want.
Thank you.
Right, next is 6.01, Superintendent Board Comments. So our Superintendent, Dr. Eric Knost.
I do feel compelled to make a few comments, Ms. Reisenhuber. With all due respect, I have offered to have a conversation with you many times, and I have not got that call from you. We have emailed. Every email I ended with, please feel free to give me a call. I want to be clear with the board. We will more than gladly look at policy. I'm very familiar with these policies. I'm very familiar with the court cases that you mentioned. I've been through this conversation not only in the Rockwood School District, in the Melville School District, in the Parkway School District. It's common. We are following our policies. We do have tight policies. We do not give open rein to outside organizations. We do work with, and the law allows us to work with our parent organizations. Our parent organizations make decisions to establish things that are for the kids. This organization paid for facility usage, as they always do. Mr. Jansen did allow for the organization to have a table at the parent-teacher conferences on those 2 nights. And it's not uncommon. It's not uncommon in all school districts when you're working with a PTO who makes a decision as a parent-organized sponsored group. The only thing advertised is that in Dr. Jansen's email newsletter home, similar to all of our principals, they allow for a PTO corner to suggest anything that may be going on. So that was utilized. So I give you my word, Ms. Reisenhuber, I will continue to look at all that we've done. I will use our legal counsel to make sure that we're not doing anything that is against the law. I do also want to point out that while I know initially I think you had some very, very legitimate concerns, I don't think they were intentional. I don't think there was any intention to exclude anybody. I just think the sign-up process was faulty because they had 2 nights and they filled up all the spots on the first night. But since then, they have opened it up to anybody. And well, that's up to the board. But so, again, I'll gladly take a phone call from you and talk to you. As I've said in every email that I've sent you, I'm there to talk to you, and I'd be glad to do that, okay? But I give you my word, and I'll tell the board that we will iron out our policy and make sure that we're not, if there's a door open where we're not following our policy, I promise you we will clean that up, and I'll make sure our legal counsel advises us on that, so it's just not us thinking that we're doing the right thing. If there's something we're doing wrong, we will fix it, I promise you. All right, just a few other things tonight. Wanted to mention that it is that time of the year where Cornerstone Award recognitions, we're accepting nominations for them, and they recognize support staff members in Rockwood School District who demonstrate outstanding commitment and service. You have a former Cornerstone Award winner sitting at this table down on my left, down there. And these employees are a vital part of our district, as you all know, and Rockwood wants them to know how much their contributions mean to everyone. So it is that time of year, and we encourage folks, anybody can nominate a Cornerstone Award recipient, so please consider doing that. It's also that time of year where we talk about National Merit Scholarship and commended scholars, and all 4 Rockwood high schools have been notified that they have students who were chosen as National Merit Scholarship Commended Scholars. In late September, high scorers received letters of commendation in recognition of their outstanding academic promise, and these commended students are named on the basis of a nationally applied selection index score that may vary from year to year. In all Rockwood high schools, we have 28 total merit commended scholars, which is something to be very proud of and excited about. It's outstanding students. And I wanted to mention that on October 8th, Rockwood Summit High School filled up a district school bus with biodiesel produced by students in the Monsanto Education Center for Sustainable Solutions, which is a building, as most of you know, located in the back of Rockwood Summit High School. Darren Peters, chemistry teacher there, is just this outstanding organic chemistry teacher who has developed this with kids, and it is turned into a very big experiential learning opportunity for so many different students. But Darren says they're able to produce about 50% biodiesel and 50% petroleum fuel that meets or exceeds federal standards for biodiesel. And that bus, along with some catering trucks at Washington University in St. Louis, has a gas tank which allows it to utilize the 50-50 biodiesel petroleum blend. And Summit is entering into a partnership to convert and sell the fuel to Washington University. It continues to be exciting, and I know it's not anything new to this board, but it's always good to just give updates that program is still alive and well, and a lot of kids are excited about it. And you may have seen I did a little Facebook Live thing this week. I didn't know I was doing that. I showed up. I thought we were making a video, and Curtis was holding an iPad. And well, that's new. So it was a little Facebook Live thing we did to celebrate National School Lunch Week. It was fun. We had a couple of students that we kind of caught off guard to talk about, and later I went in and also did a selfie with our wonderful cafeteria staff there. Did not get to talk about cupcakes. We can watch a video here, though, Facebook Live from Lafayette's Cupcake Wars.
Becky Lawrence, Fax Culinary
Hi.
class here at Lafayette. Tell us about Cupcake Wars. Cupcake Wars was designed for the students to be able to research a cupcake recipe of their choice, and then they got to cost out the ingredients. We learned about as purchased and edible portioning, and then they determined how much they're going to sell this for, and then whoever makes the most profits wins.
Okay, tell us what we're looking at here.
This is an Oreo cupcake, so it has a chocolate ganache filling, and then we have a maple bacon cupcake, and then we have a cinnamon roll cupcake with a glaze on top.
Let's go talk to the girls doing cinnamon rolls. Now this is kind of more traditional cupcake ingredients, is it not?
No, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, it's just a vanilla cupcake with a little bit of a cinnamon like filling inside of it, and then like a cinnamon crumble on top with like a nice simple vanilla glaze. It looks delicious. I'm super excited.
And Becky, you guys are getting ready to deliver, right?
Yes, they have about 5 more minutes, and then they're to deliver to their teachers that order.
All right, what do you hope they learn out of this?
Well, I hope they learn how to run a business on a small scale as far as turning a profit, things like that. So.
Thank you.
Cupcake Wars. That was Lafayette High School. No, that's in the Home Ec area. Yeah. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Any board comments?
I have one comment. Just want to thank everybody who came out to support Rockwood Gives Back a couple weekends ago now. We raised over $2,000 for Rockwood Gives Back, and that's very exciting. We had 173 registered runners between the 5K and the fun run, which is awesome. We had good sponsors and really good support, so just thanks to everybody who was able to make it out, and despite any kind of weather or crazy October scheduling, it was a success.
Else? Just going to just make a comment about the fact that we've started the process to find our next superintendent. We have, well, Paul Northington's department will work on an RFQ that will be sent out, and we'll begin the process of looking for a search firm. So I just want to keep you guys updated regarding what we're doing. All right, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda items as submitted.
So move.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes. We
Dr.
have
Kinder.
in the donations or public donations, the Bowles PTO has given a gift of $9,399 for the STEM room, and it lists all the different things they're going to purchase, and that brings the total so far this year to $302,065, which is great.
Support, extra support coming from
Yes.
parent groups.
Anything else under the agenda items? All right, so the motion is to approve the consent agenda items. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No? All right, that passes. All right, next we have agenda items. First, Anna Greenwood is going to come up, who is the project coordinator for the Drug-Free Coalition, because we have a proclamation for Red Ribbon Week. So I need a motion to approve the proclamation designated October 22nd to 26, 2018 as Red Ribbon Week in the Rockwood School District.
So move.
All those in favor? Oh, wait, you're going to talk first, and then I gave Vice President Midget, who is, so Randy Miller's going to read it.
Hi, thank you for having me. Red Ribbon Week is a great opportunity for students to really take leadership in their schools and plan prevention activities. And so they have activities going on in every single school in the district. And schools are also taking this outside of Red Ribbon Week and planning future activities to take place in the spring as well. So they're not just doing prevention during Red Ribbon Week, but doing it throughout the school year, which is great.
Any questions?
How do you gauge the success of a Red Ribbon Week?
That's a good question. I would say just student participation. You know, are they getting involved, and what are the activities? So a lot of times with Red Ribbon Week, activities are geared around like spirit days and stuff like that, but really what is the education that is taking place and what are we giving students like educational wise. So it's kind of hard to gauge, I would say, in a concrete way, but just looking at those activities and what are the learning experiences that they're getting.
Is it all K through 12?
Yes.
Good, thank you.
Well, before I read this, I would like to say that I had an opportunity to go through the Hidden in Plain Sight room, and I encourage any parent who has access to that. It's throughout the district, and I'm sure you can get that schedule out, but go to it. Even if it's not at your school, go to that school, see it, because I consider myself kind of young and hip, and I kind of feel like I kind of know some things, and
You are, yes.
and it blew my mind, some of the things that are in that room, and I had no idea. So it is really a great idea for parents to get out and see this. It'll help you maybe find some bad habits your kids are in, find something that's going on that you weren't aware of, because it can happen to all of us. So definitely go see it. All right, and without further ado, here's the proclamation. Whereas Rockwood School District values the health and safety of all our students and citizens, and whereas substance abuse is particularly damaging to one of our most valuable resources, our children, and a contributing factor in the 3 leading causes of death for teenagers: accidents, homicides, and suicides. And whereas it is the goal of Red Ribbon Week and the Rockwood School District to involve families, school businesses, churches, law enforcement agencies, and service organizations in all aspects of this campaign and establish an atmosphere that supports awareness, education, and ongoing initiatives to prevent illegal drug use. And whereas the Red Ribbon Week campaign theme promotes family and individual responsibilities for living healthy, drug-free lifestyles without illegal drugs or the illegal use of legal drugs. And whereas National Red Ribbon Week will be celebrated October 22nd through the 26th across the country. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Rockwood School District does hereby proclaim October 22nd through the 26th, 2018 as Red Ribbon Week within the district, as well as district support in demonstrating unity around healthy, drug-free lifestyles.
Done. So the motion is to approve the proclamation. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Good, that passes. And you're staying up here for the next proclamation. So we need a motion to approve the proclamation designating October 22 to 26, 2018 as the 9th annual observance of the Rockwood School District Drug-Free Coalition Week.
Move.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Would you like to say something about this?
I would just like to thank you guys for your support of the coalition. We not only do things within the district, but we are doing things in the community to make sure that there are safeguards in place for our young people. One of them is we work with the police departments, and they go and do alcohol compliance checks every month. They're going and hitting up at least 20 places, gas stations, liquor stores, grocery stores, and making sure that they're not selling alcohol and tobacco to our young people. So just thank you guys for all of your support with the coalition.
And who is reading this proclamation? Director Bays.
Proclamation for Rockwood Drug-Free Coalition. Rockwood Drug-Free Coalition provides leadership, education, and resources to prevent and address substance abuse among youth. Collaboration between the Coalition, Rockwood School District, and many community partners ensures success with community prevention programs, protecting Rockwood students so that they can thrive. Whereas by equipping youth to make healthy choices for their futures, and whereas by providing parents with information and support to guide their children in decision-making and enhancing their lives, and whereas by encouraging neighborhoods to give young people a voice and opportunities for involvement within their own communities, and whereas by collaborating with community leaders to foster prevention efforts with a common goal of helping our young people remain drug and alcohol free, and whereas October is National Substance Abuse Prevention Month, now therefore we, the Rockwood School District Board of Education, do hereby proclaim October 22nd through October 26th, 2018 as the 9th annual observance of Rockwood Drug-Free Coalition Week.
The motion is to approve the proclamation. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that passes. Thank you.
While Anna is still there, I just have to take every opportunity I can to remind our community that we do have a drug-free coalition and how important it is. And we do have parents and community members that engage in a proactive way, but all too often people are engaging in this conversation in a reactive way because they've experienced something not so great with a habit that their child has maybe been engaged in. And our Drug-Free Coalition does bring such great things like the Hidden in Plain View at all of our middle schools, where parents can go and experience those things that you just would never think of. I did it a number of years ago when it first, I guess it was 2 years ago when they first started doing it. Just an outstanding thing in our coalition. We just need to keep building capacity and promoting the excellent work they do, and Anna's doing a great job. And I've said this publicly once, I'm going to say it a bunch of times because I want her to know this, and I've told my team this as we are about to go into the budget building process. Anna, in her role, has been grant funded, and we've been in that grant for a number of years now, and that's going to run out. But I'm committed, and I've told Anna to relax and know that this is happening. I've told the team we are going to write Anna into our budget because we can't afford to not have this work going forward. And there's plenty of things both with the coalition and inside the district that Anna can do. So we're just proud of the work she's doing, and thank you for that very, very much, Anna. And Dr. Kinder always likes to ask people where they got their graduate degrees, because he's connected to Maryville. I like to point out that Anna graduated from Oakville High School when I was the principal there. So that's all. Thank you, Anna.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right, next we have a proclamation for Anti-Bullying Month. So we're going to ask Dr. Terry Harris to come up, who is the Executive Director of Student Services. So I need a motion to approve the proclamation designated the month of October 2018 as Anti-Bullying Month in the Rockwood School District.
Moved.
I have a motion and a second. Dr. Harris.
All right, so thank you so much for your support of all the work that we're doing in student services. Thank you, Janet, for passing out a little gift that we have. So Rockwood School District, for years, I mean, you guys know this, we've always supported and created programs for anti-bullying. However, this is our first year where we're asking for a proclamation. So the month of October is National Anti-Bullying Month, and this is our first time coming to the board asking you guys to declare that or proclaim that. So in addition, we're kicking off a wonderful program called the RSD Anti-Bullying Ambassadors Program next Tuesday. So we're going to bring together 60 middle school leaders. We're going to train these leaders to then go back to their schools and elementary schools to talk about bullying. Because, Randy, you are young and hip.
Thank you.
However, 7th graders really think that 7th graders or 8th graders are cooler and hipper, right? So what we want to do is put kids in positions where they're leaders and they're talking to their peers. So this bag that you have, all the kids will receive this bag. They will have name tags. They're going to actually have the program, and they're going to go back to their schools, and they're going to give this presentation. So if you guys cannot make next Tuesday, I will make sure that you guys have the dates for when the students are actually going to present in their schools, and I'm pretty sure it would be a wonderful thing for those individuals to see you at the meeting. And the only request that I would have is maybe to steal Dr. Cano's selfie thunder, not necessarily with me, but if we can get a picture with you guys with your bags, just so I can show the students that the Board of Education is supporting their efforts.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I think this is. I think it's great that you bring forward the proclamation. All three of these tonight are very important issues, and I hope one doesn't get watered down because there's three of them. But this is a topic that comes up every semester, every year, as well as the others, and I don't mean to diminish them. But I'm glad you're formalizing it this way and staying on top of that. So thanks.
I applaud you for involving our, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Good.
Applaud you for involving our young students who, because they will listen to each other far more than they will listen. It's like listening to your own kids. They'll listen to somebody else's parent. So the fact that you're involving our students as being leaders is not only good for them now, but as they grow, and they will continue then to be good parents and responsible citizens. So thank you for doing that.
Whereas bullying is physical, verbal, sexual, or emotional harm or intimidation intentionally directed at a person or group of people. And whereas bullying occurs in neighborhoods, playgrounds, schools, and through technology such as the internet and cell phones. And whereas various researchers have concluded that bullying is the most common form of violence, affecting millions of American children and adolescents annually. And whereas thousands of children and adolescents are affected by bullying annually. And whereas targets of bullying are more likely to acquire physical, emotional, and learning problems, and students who are repeatedly bullied often fear such activities as riding the bus, going to school, and attending community activities. And whereas children who bully are at a greater risk of engaging in more serious violent behavior. And whereas children who witness bullying often feel less secure, more fearful, and intimidated. Now, therefore, be it resolved, we, the Rockwood School District Board of Education, do hereby proclaim the month of October as National Bullying Prevention Month. Thank you.
So the motion is to approve the proclamation. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that passes. Thank you.
Terry, Dr. Harris, even though you didn't accuse me of being young and hip, I want to ask you a question. I'm not going to let Dr. Canos get ahead of me. I understand you have a doctorate degree from some university here. What one is that?
Maryville University.
Oh, Maryville. Okay, thank you.
Where all the young, hip people attend.
Oh, that's right.
Right.
I think Director Miller was pointing out that the old and grumpy people are on this end of the table, so.
He did sort of indicate that. Well, a couple of us.
This end.
Okay, as we were. So Terry Harris is going to stick around, and he's going to give a presentation on character education, social and emotional learning. And this was requested by our COPE committee, so we appreciate them bringing you forward. Yes, I did.
Right, so I was asked to give an update on SEL, and I would just start by saying I had a conversation with Janet and Dr. Canos and Dr. Counts and everyone about how we're doing so much stuff around social and emotional learning in the Rockwood School District that a short presentation was really challenging. So if you want to know more, I can definitely go into details a little bit later, but for this, it's very high-level stuff, and I just want to mention that, and we can have discussions later. So social and emotional update. For the purposes of this presentation, yes, the definition that we're using is the CASEL definition. So I won't read that, but that's the definition in orange. So there's a lot of people who talk about social and emotional learning, and one of the things that we hear from teachers sometimes, or individuals around the country, is that we have a lot of kids who are experiencing social and emotional behaviors, right? So as a person who really believes in social and emotional learning, my question is always, what does that mean? And I would venture to say that if you're a living adult, child, or anything that's living, you're experiencing social and emotional issues, right? Because social and emotional things happen all the time. Someone dies, you're going to grieve. That's a social and emotional thing, or you're just learning these things. And so we really want to make sure that we capture language with what we're intending to say when we're talking about social and emotional learning. On the left-hand side, on the right-hand side, for me, you see the WIL, which is the CASEL WIL. CASEL is the Collaborative for Academic Social and Emotional Learning. They've been around for 25 years out of the University of Chicago. The leading researchers around as it relates to social and emotional learning. So they look at social and emotional learning in 5 areas: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. So all of the programs that we're implementing at the district level and school building level is focused in those areas, right? So if someone is asking for SEL support, the question that I have is, in what area? Are you looking for self-awareness, responsible decision-making skills, so on and so forth? So if you look at the anti-bullying program that we have, that is factored in all 5 of those areas. The other piece about this slide that is really important, and this slide, this WIL is a new adoption of the WIL. The pieces around homes and communities and schools, that's all new. And so what CASEL is basically saying is that social and emotional learning cannot be absent of the involvement of the homes and the communities, right? Because kids are learning some of these things at home and at school. So as a district, we have an obligation to make sure that we are tying or connecting home to school as we're preparing kids to be these socially astute beings. Any questions with the WIL? And all the curriculum that we use, so you're going to see a slide with the curriculum of Second Step. All the curriculum that we use is evidence-based and research-based and backed curriculum. So, and we're not just creating some curriculum. We're actually looking at what the research says. So in an effort to make sure that I tried to cover all the things, I divided my presentation into 3 parts. So people, programs, and policies. So from a people standpoint, just a quick update. You guys may recall last year you adopted a budget which included these people. So now we have 4 social and emotional behavior therapists or specialists that are all master's social workers level and the quadrant. So these individuals primarily work with the secondary students. However, if we feel as though we have a kid that is in need of therapeutic support, then these individuals will go down to support the elementary schools as well. So the way this works is that our individuals are short-term therapeutic support. If a student is exempling or portraying a need to have more support, we're partnering with Preferred Family Health or some of the other agencies around through St. Louis Children's Service Fund to provide long-term support. So our specialists are meeting with students no more than about 8 weeks for short-term interventions. As part of the superintendent safety report, Dr. Canos put in there to have a change of philosophy around middle school counseling. So now our philosophy is to ensure that each middle school has a counselor per grade level. So Crestview is pretty much the only school 2 years ago with this model. This past year, or the year that we're in now, we increased the counselor at LaSalle. So now you have LaSalle, Crestview, as well as Rockwood South. The program through the budget process is to look at increasing those numbers at the other middle schools over the course of a few years, whatever the budget allows us to do. We also have a behavior analyst who primarily works with the elementary students, and that is Sharday Rigdon. So she does a lot with working with kids on behavior. So here's what we found. Last year we had students who were seeing a therapist, and I think that what we wanted to do is be very clear that there's a difference between needing therapeutic support and just having behavior issues. And so I think a lot of our elementary students were having behavior issues, not necessarily needing therapeutic support, but we used the therapeutic support because that's all we had. So now we are really looking at what's the function of that behavior, how can we correct that behavior, working with the classroom teachers to be able to put things in place to support the student that way. And things are going well. Our new float nurse is great. Amy said to tell you guys thank you so much. We did have an issue and a problem with trying to find nurses when a nurse was out. However, with this new float nurse allowing us to have 2 plus Amy, we don't really have an issue as much. The ECP program is going well. In fact, we have other schools who are asking to partner with us with the ECP program or learn more about our program. We have 60 students in the program right now, and they're all doing well. In fact, the GPA, and Dr. Kender, forgive me because I don't know the average GPA off the top of my head, but it's great. Just know that.
It's close enough.
Yeah. So the college would tell us that our students in the program is really pushing their GPA up across a campus, and Dr. Canos probably can say more about that as well.
Shall stand for ECP.
Early College Program.
Okay, thanks.
And then last with people, obviously you guys know that we have the Student Restore program at each one of our high schools. We didn't have a Student Restore person at Eureka High School until this past year. So now all of our schools have the Student Restore program, which is basically a school within a school. It's like an alternative space and location for students, because what we know is not all students need to attend the individual learning center. Some students may need some other small interventions, and so we're doing that as an early intervention prior to having a kid leave to go to the ILC. People. Hey, I don't think this is working, or I'm not doing something right. Yeah. Programs. So with programs, we are continuing. This is our second year with our Thrive series. As you guys recall, last year we focused on 4 areas: restorative practices, social and emotional learning, self-care for educators, and trauma-informed practices. We're increasing our workshop offerings by including universal behavior supports, which is a big thing that is led by Jane Brown and Jamie Smith. A lot of our elementary and middle school people were asking for that, so we're really excited about that. We've always done safety training. However, we're increasing that through our Rockwood, Dr. Knos's superintendent report. So we're offering the 4E option-based intruder training, active shooter training monthly for individuals who would like to participate. I mentioned the anti-bullying program. With character education, I talked about this last time, but I really want to highlight that I'm pretty positive, or I feel strongly, that we're going to have maybe 3 of our 4 high schools who will apply for national school, and probably this year, one of our schools, if not all 3, will actually be recognized. This is looking pretty good. So all of our high schools are coming together on a monthly basis to look at the 11 standards with the direction and support from Dr. Knos to actually complete the application to go through the process. And here's what I want to share. It's not about the recognition, although that's the carrot. But it's something wonderful to be able to look at all the things that we're doing and have some outside group come in to let you know that you are doing the right thing, and here's some things that we can add and to make our schools even better. So all the schools are bought in and connected and committed, so that's going to be really exciting to see all 4 of our high schools become national schools of character. That's going to happen soon. Probably not, that's going to happen soon. SEL student survey, working with Glenn Hancock and his team and Shelley to create, and we're actually there. We have a new survey that we're waiting for the principals to take a look at and give feedback, but we want to be able to your question around Red Ribbon, how do we measure the effectiveness of our programming for students as it relates to SEL? And right now, I think that we can go to students and say, hey, what do you think about this? But we want to be able to organize it in a way that we have some data that's going to give us the direction we need to go in. You guys heard Dr. Knos talk a lot about our Champions program, but that is kicking off. Just watch social media and you can see all the things that individuals are doing. This is a Missouri Options expansion. I'm really excited about this. Missouri Options allows for people to receive their GED, but it's also a high school diploma. Right now, our program was only at the ILC, but we know that there are some kids that probably can't make it to the ILC because of cars or what have you. So for this year, we expanded the program where each one of our high schools offer the opportunity for a student to participate in Missouri Options if they need to. I'm really excited about this. I mean, we have more kids who have dropped out of school, and that's not a lot. Rockwood School District, we don't have a lot of kids that are dropping out, but 1 kid is enough, right? But we have kids that school just didn't work for them, and now we have kids who are calling and saying, hey, I heard you guys have this program at Lafayette, Marquette, Eureka, Rockwood Summit. I was wondering if I can enroll and take the test and participate in the program. And we do have kids that are doing that, so I'm really excited about this expansion. It's probably one of the proudest moments just to see that we're creating an opportunity for students to continue their education. And last, with programs, working with Shelley, Dr. Counts, and IO at the ILC to be able to do a review of our program. The ILC hasn't been reviewed in probably 7 or 8 years. So what's out there as it relates to alternative education? And we have some really cool things that are coming down or we're thinking about. So we'll just keep you guys posted on that. Very quickly, the policy piece, we're in the process of looking at the way forward. All of the information is online, and we also have a Google Doc that I can add you guys to so you can see the progress. But I put this under policy because I'm really hoping that through the end of this process, we can actually have a statement or a policy or some guidelines or some standards as it relates to social and emotional learning. And I'm hoping that we can take a look at that. If you take a look at Kansas State, if you take a look at Illinois, some of these other places, they actually have standards as it relates to measuring social and emotional learning. And I think that Rockwood School District, and I want to say this, like we're leading the area in terms of our social and emotional work. Parkway School District is now implementing their social emotional behavior specialists, and that's not by surprise, right? I mean, the job description that they have is the job description that I wrote with Katie and HR that they're using. Same with Francis Howe. So a lot of these individuals are looking at the work that we're doing to help with their schools. And for us to continue to move forward, I think that we're going to have to look at standards and stay on the cutting edge. That's a lot of information in 5 minutes or so. But what questions do you guys have? Yes.
Part of the Thrive program, it incorporates parents and home, right?
So no. So our Thrive series, we don't necessarily connect the parents that way, but the connection through social emotional learning is other pieces, right? So there are some parents who are participating in our trauma work at our school. So Lafayette is doing a trauma series, so you have parents that are part of that. Randy mentioned Hidden in Plain Sight. That's not necessarily through the Thrive series, but those are pieces where we're getting parents involved. We've partnered with, I can't think of the organization, but is Avery Cantor's mom has a program where parents come to listen to other parents talk about struggles that they may have had with their kids with depression, anxiety, different things like that. So those are the pieces. But if you're suggesting or wanting to explore parents connecting to Thrive, 100% will be open to that.
I thought, was it last year or the year before last, that you actually offered some opportunities for parents to come together, and there were some presentations or something?
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking of.
So that was I can't think of the name of the program that we did, but that was with Avery Cantor's mom and that organization.
Okay. I just wanted to know if by chance you know how many parents you have reached in the past year or whatever. Would be interesting to kind of keep tabs on that.
Trap it up, yeah.
It's the Bravery Foundation.
Bravery Foundation, yeah.
Dr. Harris, so when you go back to the Castle Wheel, if you were to take each of those 5 categories and you were then to overlay in each one of those all of the things that you're doing, we would be meeting something in all of those categories. Is that correct?
100%.
If I'm understanding the PowerPoint and all those features?
Yes, absolutely.
That's remarkable.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a big task.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they all blend together. They all work toward the same goal, which is the social emotional learning in the middle.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
A lot of those are just to be clear, plenty of room for expansion for more, but it's like seed programs to nurture and cultivate for those areas. But Terry's done great work to make sure that we are following. Castles are really it's universal. I mean, there's a lot of places that give validity to Castles, so it makes sense to. We talked about. I'd kind of charged Terry at one time to lead a conversation of maybe creating our own principles, if you will, and group looked at a number of different things, but this really kind of rose to the top, and it makes all the sense. It covers all the.
Those will work.
Yes. Absolutely.
Couple questions, Terry. The Missouri options, when they get their diploma, does that say it's from the home school?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. You were talking about trauma a little bit, but I've noticed in the last 5 or 6 years, as my students were writing their dissertation, there's many more are writing about trauma-informed schools and restorative practices. Does Rockwood have that? How many schools are involved in that, or do we have any schools designated that way, or is it within an individual school somebody will do that, or how's that working?
Definitely. So all of our schools, I would say that all of our schools, they've all had a workshop on trauma-informed practices. To actually be a trauma-informed school, it's a whole process, and we partner with Alive and Well St. Louis. Lafayette High School is going through that process now. Crestview went through the process last year. They partner a lot. Eureka High School is also coming on board. And so one of the wonderful things that I feel like is great under this leadership now that we are allowing school leaders to be school leaders, to assess where they want to go and what they feel like they are in need of in their building at the time. So schools are operating, a little bit differently. So that's the focus for Lafayette and Crestview. Eureka focuses a lot on equity and inclusion and social justice. Wildwood Middle School is probably leading the area in terms of restorative practices. In fact, on November 15th and 16th, there's a national conference that's coming to St. Louis on restorative practices, and our students from Wildwood Middle School are presenting to other adults as well as children. Actually adults, not even children. It's for adults and school leaders. So I think it just depends on what school you're talking about. When Renee was over at Summit, Renee focused a lot on this will and social emotional learning. Eureka is on Monday. They're having a student wellness day. So it just depends on the school. But if you want me to, I can give you a list of where the focus are. But they all are doing something around those two areas. The other thing with trauma is the reason trauma is becoming a big piece is because we're all impacted by trauma. And especially secondary trauma is probably more than anything. You can't watch planes go into a building at 9/11 and not be impacted by that. You cannot live in a city of St. Louis and have someone shot or killed or have over 200 murders and be okay with that, right? So that secondary trauma is creeping into the space and the lives of our students, and now they're coming to school expected to do work, but they're thinking about their safety at home, and that teacher has to be prepared to be able to teach the math, but also make sure that that kid knows that they're loved and they're safe in their space right now. And we're seeing more of that. So that's why you have a big focus on trauma.
Thank you.
A question.
Yes.
So the social and emotional behavior specialists are utilized, obviously, when something's going on in a school community or in the school and you know there's a need. Aside from that, how are they being utilized?
Great question. So one of the things that we really focus on is making sure that the conversation around social emotional learning is not a reactive conversation, right? It's a proactive conversation. It's probably too late when, if a kid has been offered drugs and they don't know that you're going to teach that later. That's probably too late. You have to do these things before. So all of these individuals are meeting one-on-one with students because that's the reactive piece, but they also have groups. So they're meeting with kids in each one of those areas. So you may have Regina, who is in the south side of the district. She has a group that is focused on relationship skills. She may call it something different, but that group is focusing on the relationship skills, and those are the strategies and the pieces that she's teaching. So that's a proactive piece. So they're meeting with their principals and saying, hey, give me a group of kids, no more than 10, that you know can benefit from this skill or this strategy.
Are they also helping kids who have specific therapy needs that maybe are identified either in the classroom or by the parent? I'm just picturing like the conferences coming up. Say a parent comes in and the parents and the teachers are talking about something going on with their child and they need some help and some services. Are the teachers then referring them for some individual time with these folks? Are we able to provide that, or do we not?
Oh, yes. Yes, absolutely. So what should happen, and probably what is happening at our schools, a parent would say that to a teacher then would refer that to the counselor. The counselor would do the things that they feel like they need to do, and then the counselor will either have the kid go meet with a social worker or then have the kid meet with a therapist. Yes.
Go up the chain.
Yes.
I think one of the key things you just said, which is really cool to see as we all have the opportunity to be in schools, is how each school adapts, like you said, to their environment and their climate and what's going on, and how they take a theme and adapt it for their climate. And it's really cool to see when you're in buildings, different things. Yeah, great work.
I think it's a great step forward to do the universal supports in the classroom and do that training. You knew I would say that. But so how does that work with the character education piece? 'Cause
The SEL piece or the universal support?
so universal supports and that first.
Universal supports? You want to define it?
Universal supports is just how you set up your classroom to make sure that all kids are supported. So it's teaching the rules, it's teaching, kids don't necessarily come into a classroom knowing how to behave in a classroom. So it's teaching those things, it's setting up supports for all students, and if a student needs those rules explained a little bit more often, you do that, you give cues, you give some added strategies. so it's school-wide supports, and it works best if the whole school is kind of doing the same thing. So there's universal rules in Mrs. Jones' classroom compared to Mrs. Smith's classroom, so kids know.
It's how we do business and operate as a community.
Right.
So the way Dave and I were talking about this yesterday, because we had this big meeting with Shelley and her team, the way that the easiest way to define universal supports is that when we see a red light, for us who drives, we all stop, or we should stop, right? And if you don't, then there is a consequence. But for the most part, we stop. And then when the light turns green, we all go. Like, that is a universal support or universal structure that we all subscribe to, and we know that, right? So it's how we do business as a community.
Sure, all of us, that all the community knows exactly what we mean. When we throw terms out like that, we need to be sure that we clarify so everybody understands them.
And there's an active teaching part to
Right.
that. So it's just not assuming you know to stop at the red light. You actually teach that concept, because some kids get it and some kids need that extra instruction. But I'm just saying how that I'm wondering how that interfaces with the character education piece.
So I think that we haven't had any issues.
Okay.
I think it's a great blend. If you take a look at the 11 principles and what character education is trying to teach, I'm not really for sure that we could look at the 11 principles separately from a structure that allows everyone to understand the rules and operate within. Yeah.
Sometimes people.
Really,
That's good to hear, because sometimes, well, we're doing this, we can't do
right.
this.
Yeah.
The conversation a couple of years ago, universal supports came out of positive behavior interventions and supports, and there was in the two communities, if you will, there was conflict, especially with one kind of character education guru in our area who really feels strongly that you shouldn't reward kids for behavior, that they should understand that behavior is doing the right thing. But I think the way we're approaching this, because we're really not going down the path of PBIS, but the biggest concept, I think you and I, Lynn, have went through that process in a previous district, and that's the heart and soul of it, is just the universal. And you described it so well. I mean, the fact that a collaborative process for a school community, a building, to determine what it is, what is the universal behavior, because so oftentimes it really helps administrators too, because so oftentimes with all the differences, you may have one teacher who really feels that if this happens in a classroom, that the administrator needs to really hit that hard, and you may have another teacher right across the hall or down the hall that would never expect intervention. So it allows the school to come together and talk about that, and I think in that concept it braids really, really well with character education, because it's just to talk about what is right in our for behavior in our school, and how kids act, and what adults expect, and what they model as well.
Exactly what it's getting.
Yeah, I kind of read your mind on that one.
Anything else? So everything that's up there is one of the reasons why Rockwood Gives Back was really formulated, right? Because that's what we believe in, is helping every kid, helping every family, and so thank you. Okay, next we have
Great job, too.
Communications Outreach and Public Engagement Committee update. Who will be the spokesperson?
I will take care of that.
Nice.
So on the 1st of October, Lynn, Jamie, myself, Dr. Canos, and Kathy Orta met and discussed first with Communications Reach, which I found quite interesting. It talked about like school board website, how many people we reach last year. Something to note there is that is new devices. So if we have a user who's got the same device, they're not going to add to that. So while that went down, it's interesting to note that our school board hits without the policy actually went up. So that's people looking at our portion of the website and not actually looking at policy. They're actually looking at other things. So that actually went up. I know a lot of times we always chuckle because there's nobody in the audience, Well, there's actually, according to this, almost 50 people in the audience at every board meeting looking at it online. So for those of you who are sitting here thinking, well, nobody ever comes to these things, well, there's 50 people in TV land, wave to them, that are watching. So I found that quite interesting. Board focus is up a little bit, but the mobile app almost doubled. So that's great to see that parents are using that. We also discussed our meetings and having people like Terry come and present to us. We have those on November 1st, December 6th, February 7th, March 7th, April 4th, and May 2nd. And I can go over those with you if you guys would like, who's going to be there. I know it's getting late, so if you don't want me to, I will move on. We can send that. It's actually on the website, right? It's on the minutes, yep. Yep. And then we also set up a meeting for, I believe it is March 4th, right? Yeah. So that'll be our next meeting to discuss our future events that we want at board meetings and presentations. So we'll iron out that on the next one. Yep.
It's from Lynn. Well,
Yeah.
Great job, Randy.
all right, good. All right, next is future agenda next is the proposed agenda for November 1st. So if we could pull that up, please. It's like a few proclamations, presentation. Anybody have any questions or comments about the next agenda? All good?
Well, good.
Okay. Proposed agenda, we already covered that. Future agenda presentations and events to attend. So Janet has here, please check the Board of Education Google Calendar for upcoming events in the district. Religious Leaders Luncheon, Wednesday, October 24th at 12 o'clock right here. Any other agenda, or, events to attend anybody else has that they want to add at this time? Or make
What's the next awards that we do at a high school?
the
15th.
15th of November.
So not the next one, the one after that.
Right.
Okay.
Right. I believe Janet sent out the list of who is going to be at each one, correct?
And that's just tentative too. I mean, we can adjust it as we go, just so everybody knows.
So Dr. Kinder knows when to wear a suit.
Next time,
Yes. All right, anything else?
Just don't run really quick. Terry just reminded me to please he wants me to get a selfie with
Oh, okay.
everybody holding their bag. So
Okay.
we got to make good on that for him.
All right.
We can do it right out here in front really quick.
Okay, so let's adjourn the
on
meeting.
pro.